Well, good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. We meet once again. My name is Darla Bonk, CEO and founder of Darla Bonk Consulting, and welcome to the Founders 9 at 9, where every Monday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we bring you 9 minutes, that's it, of business tips and motivation to get you on your way to building and living the life that you love. Today, we're going to be talking about the process for training and implementing a training program in your C-suite leadership team, as well as cascading down to the mid-level tier of leadership and what that needs to look like and what the differences are when you do so. So the first thing that I really want you to understand is that there has to be a foundation upon which you are going to build what you are teaching, training, and coaching along the way to your C-suite leadership team. You're having to first and foremost identify what your core leadership competencies are going to be. You as the CEO or you with your board of directors, you have to identify what your core leadership competencies even are. Because if you ask your C-suite leadership team or your mid-tier leadership team what they believe leadership is, what the skill set is that's required, you are going to get differing answers. Doesn't mean they're wrong, but in order to maintain an effective leadership team that has cohesion, you have to know what it is that you're actually building. So you've got to identify your core leadership competencies. And this means you're going to have to define your key leadership competencies in your leadership team and within the organization. You need to gather this input from your C-suite team and from maybe some external experts that can help you create a comprehensive coverage of leadership competencies. Number two, now that you know what your leadership competencies are, now you're going to have to develop the training program around it, right? So you need to create a detailed curriculum that is going to cover the core competencies, including practical application and case studies. I need you to include modules or training on these four pieces. Number one, strategic thinking. Strategic thinking. And we all know this. You guys hear me say this all the time. Too often, we are telling people what to think. We are not training them on how to think. So, number one, strategic thinking. Number two, emotional intelligence. Number three, effective communication. And number four, crucial decision making. Strategic thinking, emotional intelligence, effective communication, and decision making. Then I want you to plan interactive sessions. I don't want this to just be classroom work. I don't want this to just be a video module that they can just see and just absorb or consume without really talking through this. You need to have interactive sessions with them, workshops, and maybe there's a real world problem that you're trying to solve in your C-suite leadership team. Cascade that down to mid-level management and see what they do with it, right? Number three, now you're going to implement the training. You're going to implement your training program. So you need to schedule regular training with the C-suite team that preferably is offsite or that will have minimum to no disruption at all to their daily responsibilities, but that will not interrupt them while you're training. And I've had so many folks tell me, CEOs tell me, I don't have time to do this, Darla. You're right. You don't have time. You have to make the time. You have to make the time for your leadership development. I want you to use a blend of in-person and virtual training methods that are going to accommodate the different ways your team learns. Just because you learn and absorb information one way does not mean your leadership team and cascading down the organization does not mean they will absorb the information the same way. You've got to give them multiple sources of obtaining the information. Then I want you to incorporate mentorship opportunities where seasoned leaders are going to be able to guide less experienced C-suite members, because just because you've elevated someone into the C-suite does not mean they come needing nothing. They are always going to need more. They're always going to need to be refining their craft just like you do, right? So then step four, we've identified the core leadership competencies. Number two, we developed a training program. Number three, we're implementing the training program. And now we're going to measure and refine. So you're going to regularly assess the effectiveness of your training through feedback, performance metrics, leadership assessments. Maybe it's a 360 assessment performance. And I want you to also make adjustments that would be necessary in the training program based off the feedback you're getting, based off observed outcomes, right? It has to be fluid. You can't just create this program that is stoic and that is, or static, that is, contained in a box, that cannot be flexible enough to be iterated so that it can be more effective for your organization. And then you're going to have to foster a culture of continuous learning and improvement with the C-suite team. Okay. So that's your C-suite component. Now let's break this down for your mid-level managers. So first, you're going to cascade the leadership competencies down to the mid-level leadership team. So that means you're going to have to communicate those in a way that it was if your mid-level management team was in the room with the C-suite leadership team. That has to be so connected and so almost replicated, so that there's no miscommunication, there's no misunderstanding. The core competencies in the leadership team were cascaded down to the mid-level leadership team. You have to build in that cohesion, right? Then I want you to also provide clear examples of how these competencies can apply at the mid-level management stage, not just at C-suite, but at the mid-level management stage. Then step 2, you're going to adapt training program for your mid-level managers. You're going to simplify, you're going to tailor the C-suite training curriculum to fit the context and the responsibilities of your mid-level managers. You're going to focus on practical leadership skills, team management, conflict resolution, performance coaching. In step 3, I want you to implement this training. So for them, you're going to schedule regular training sessions using a mix of in-person and virtual. That's going to be the same. But I want you to now include role-playing scenarios. I want you to include peer-to-peer learning. I want you to include group discussions with them. I want you to encourage these mid-level managers to apply what they've learned by leading small projects or maybe small initiatives in their own area of expertise. The number 4, same thing. You're going to monitor and support, but you're going to track this progress with regular performance reviews and feedback sessions regularly, right? You're going to provide ongoing support and additional resources that's going to help them develop their leadership skills. And it's going to create opportunities for these mid-level managers to share their experiences and their best practices with their peers. Okay, so what could a timeline of this really look like? So let's talk about it. The implementation plan. Number 1, the initial planning and assessment. Week 1 and week 2, you're going to identify these key competencies. Week 3 and week 4, you're going to develop the C-suite training program. That sounds like a short window. Trust me, don't overthink it. You already have it all up here. In the training program development, which is going to be stage 2, during month 1 of that, you're going to create the detailed training materials. You're going to include these case studies, the interactive exercises. And in month 2, you're going to plan the schedule of these training sessions. And you're going to figure out what that needs to look like. And then in step 3 of this is going to be the rollout. Okay, so in month 3, you're going to roll this out. You're going to begin training programs with the C-suite team, and you're going to focus on the core competencies and your practical application. Then in month 4, you're going to start training the mid-level managers in their training sessions. So your C-suite's just ahead, right? And you're going to ensure that the content is relevant and accessible. And then in step 4, you're going to create this ongoing support and refinement. So in month 5 and 6, I want you to regularly assess the effectiveness of the training programs through feedback and performance metrics. You cannot manage what you cannot measure, right? And then through months 7 through 12, you're going to continuously refine the training materials and the methods based on that feedback and the observed outcomes. And then moving forward past month 12, you're going to establish a culture of continuous learning, offering ongoing training and development opportunities for both your C-suite and your mid-level managers. And so think about this. Think about the executive retention that you're now going to be able to insulate into your organization. Think about the cohesion. Think about the succession planning and what that could really look like. CEO, if this is actually your company and you're the actual owner of the company, maybe you can now start to see an exit strategy because you're going to build in a leadership team that is so robust. And as soon as one moves up the ladder, everybody else just kind of falls into line. There is so much value in creating this leadership program that it's not a matter of I don't have the time. It's making the time and making this one of your priorities in your organization with your executive leadership team, cascading that down in the organization into your mid-level leadership team, and watch and see what happens with your organization. All right, everybody, thank you so much for joining me. You are one step closer to getting on your way to building and living the life you want.